Ken, we have in the whole question of debate between science and theology, we have a lot of debate over the first couple chapters of Genesis.
Yes.
Genesis 1 and 2 talks about God creating the world out of nothing. In Genesis 1, we have these 6 days that are listed off. In Genesis 2, we have seems to be focusing in on the specific story of Adam and Eve's creation. And so there's all this debate over how we should take it. Should we take it as strict, literal 6 days that happened several thousands of years ago? And then, of course, there's lots of people that just radically disagree with that. So talk to us about that for just a minute. How should we look at those early chapters of Genesis?
Well, as much as we can, we should try to understand it the way Moses intended for us to understand it. And that will, of course, require us, to the best of our abilities, to try to perceive what was the worldview of the original audience. Mm-hmm. And I think that is crucial. Perhaps the strongest argument for accepting a young earth interpretation, that this Genesis requires us to understand the world to be 10,000 years or less, mm-hmm. is the fact that Adam is very definitely connected in the Scriptures to the rest of human history. Okay. You have the genealogies in Genesis 1 up through 11, where the genealogies are given a couple of times. Then you have again in in Chronicles, and then you have the genealogies given to us in the Gospels that mm-hmm. not only connect Adam to the human race, mm-hmm. but Adam and Christ.
Right.
So it's very clear that the Bible intends for us to understand Adam as a historical person.
Okay.
So then the next thing we have to ask at that point is, does this then require that we
right.
understand Genesis 1
right.
in as 6 sequential 24-hour days?
Right.
And there are a number of markers in the text itself that would indicate this may not be the best way to understand it.
Okay.
Let's remember what Moses is attempting to do. He is talking to a people who are wandering through the wilderness. They have been immersed in worldviews that are totally alien to everything we read in Genesis chapter 1. Mm-hmm. They have a Babylonian background in that Abraham comes from Ur of the Chaldees. They have spent 400 years in Egypt. They're about to enter into a Canaanite culture. Each one of these cultures have their own creation myths mm-hmm. that teach something so different mm-hmm. from what we read in Genesis. And in fact, when you read Genesis in the light of those mythologies, you begin to realize what Moses is doing first and foremost is he is refuting these pagan, polytheistic, erroneous mythologies. Mm-hmm. And so when we read that with that in mind, we realize he's not really trying to give us some type of marker as to the age of the earth. In fact, if we were not debating young earth versus old earth, we would all be noting how much the Bible really does seem to foretell what modern science understands the true nature of the earth. That the world is not eternal, mm-hmm. that it had a finite beginning, mm-hmm. that it appears to have come out of nothing, that there is something very special and unique about this planet, that the origin of life is an incredible mystery, and the very characteristics of what makes us human is very much a mystery. Mm-hmm. Well, all that fits very well with what we read in Genesis chapters 1 and 2, right. that God called the heavens and the earth into existence out of nothing, did a very special work on this planet, and capped it all by creating creatures, Adam and Eve, in His image, that are able to think His thoughts after Him and have been given a very special mandate and a special role in this universe. So, I think that the best way to understand Genesis chapter 1 is that it's making a very powerful point about who God is and His relationship to us and who we are as in the image of God, what our relationship and responsibilities are to the world and ultimately to God.
So then at the end, it does look like affirming Adam is a non-negotiable, but that it's not essential from the text alone that we have to affirm a 6,000 to 10,000 year old.
I think that there are reasonable men of goodwill mm-hmm. who love God and know their Bibles who disagree on this issue. And it is very much an ongoing discussion. I have I myself hold to an analogical day like Jack Collins. I find myself very comfortable with that interpretation of Genesis chapter 1, not because it simply fits with the science of the day. It does do that, and that's nice. But also because I think it does justice to what the text actually says. And in the end, the Bible is the final authority.